places like that, and look at poor, dumb, uneducated people, and see how well they take care of themselves if they're given the freedom to do so. And how passionate they are, and how excited they are about their ability to start a little business, or to go to work for something, or go to produce something and gain their own, a little bit of wealth for themselves. There's nobody on this planet, again, with a few exceptions of really people who have real, either physical or mental, disabilities. Other than those people, there's no human being can't take care of himself if left free to do so. Look at what happens when you give people just a little bit of freedom. Mao Zedong knew exactly what was good for everybody in China. And yet somehow about 100 million people died of starvation because he knew it so well. Now, generally, the central planners in China generally leave things alone, at least on the micro level. And look how they're booming and thriving. Because they've been given a little bit of freedom. China's not an example of a free country. But just a little bit of freedom. And because people flourish under that freedom. And they do know how to take care of themselves. And they do make the right decisions. And it's the opposite, because when we get used to Big Brother taking care of us, what happens? That dumbs us down. So people don't save. Why? Because they were told, don't worry, spend, right? Saving is bad. This is the new idea, right? It's all about a consumer economy. Don't save money. Spend it all. And when you retire and need money, well, Social Security, it'll be there. Don't worry. We'll pay you back. Or don't buy health insurance. Why the hell would anybody buy health insurance? You walk into an emergency room, and by law, they have to treat you. That's an easy way, right? And that's why everybody uses the emergency room, because they've got a little bit of a cold. But they have to treat you by law. So, don't think for yourself. Don't produce, because we'll take care of it. And that dumbs people down. And there are plenty of studies that show, for example, that welfare creates a dependency. That if you look at black Americans, they were on their ascent in terms of reaching the middle class and increased wealth and increased prosperity up until the Great Society of Lyndon Johnson, and it's been in decline since then because we put them on welfare and taken away all the incentives that they needed to take care of yourself, and mentally programmed them not to take care of themselves. And that is the biggest victims of welfare are the recipients. Those are the biggest victims. Yeah.
So what sort of political system does this necessitate? It seems that even a free market or democracy will always be in the best interest of the majority to establish rules to kind of make sure that the majority are in power.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of democracy. And neither were the Founding Fathers. If you mean by democracy majority rule,
well, with the Bill of Rights, obviously, to make sure.
Yeah, so what you really need is a constitution that protects one thing, and that is individual rights. So the political system that this entails is really the American political system. But the American political system cleaned up a little bit and straightened out a little bit so it doesn't have all the loopholes that unfortunately the Founding Fathers left in it. It's a political system that says that the role of government is one and one only. To protect your right to pursue happiness, in a sense, to pursue your life, to go out and do what you think is good for you. That means that the government doesn't interfere, it doesn't regulate, it doesn't control, it has no role in your life, other than to protect you from your neighbor if he wants to, shoot you, steal from you, defraud you. So there's only one thing that can inhibit our freedoms, and that is force. A gun, a fist, fraud. And the only role of government is to prevent that. And one of the tragedies of what happens today is that that's the one thing they don't do. So they want to take care of everybody, but they can't protect us from crooks. Bernie Madoff, for years and years and years, ran this scam. Somebody, this hedge fund guy, just came out with a book, wrote 3 different memos, long, detailed memos on how Bernie Madoff was running a pyramid scheme and sent it to the SEC, and they didn't have time for it, right? Because they were too busy making sure that you guys were filing the right form that you need to file anytime you buy or sell a stock. Particularly if you're a big investor and you're maybe taking 5% of a company, you have to file a 13D and tell the world why you're taking so much stock and why you're buying so much. What's in anybody's business why you're buying stock? But they can't bother with Bernie Madoff because they're busy, shuffling papers. So the crooks get away. You see the same thing in foreign policy. They're too busy with the, all these internal problems that we have to fight a proper war and defeat a proper enemy. So the government has defaulted on the one thing it should be doing, and is doing all the things it should be doing. The Founding Fathers understood something that nobody understands today, unfortunately, and that is that the biggest violator of individual rights in human history has been government. Right? I can steal something from you, maybe. And maybe if I've really got a thriving criminal career, I can get to 100, maybe 200 people and steal from them. The government steals from 300 million people every single day. Right? If it kills people, it kills them in large scale. No individual criminal is ever going to approach what governments can do in terms of violating individual rights. The whole point of the Bill of Rights is to control government, is to limit the powers of government so they don't violate your rights. You still need government, but government is a protector of rights, not as a violator of rights. Long answer to your question. Yep.
Okay. With Nancy Pelosi et al.'s recent bill hall push in the name of deeming the health care bill passed without any votes, if this is what seems like this is what we're heading for. I mean, next thing you know, they'll be deeming themselves voted in office, whether we vote for them or not. What is left to do in that sense?
Well, I mean, I think that the instincts of Pelosi and Obama and many of the people surrounding them are fascist and are, totalitarian in that sense. They would love to be able to just, force this bill down our throats and not bother with voting. I think that's the instinct. We're still not there yet, so let's not panic quite yet. This country's not a dictatorship yet, although we're taking small little steps towards it. And it's not, again, not just this administration, the previous administration have colluded, in a sense, to systematically take us in that direction of a dictatorship. But we're not there yet. So what we need to do is fight. And fight for our freedoms. I mean, think of what the Founding Fathers went to battle over. And against whom? Right? There is a battle going on right now. It's a battle for our freedoms. And this administration, more than any other administration, really symbolizes this is the great virtue. This is the one good thing Obama represents, is that he has made the battle clear. He's clearly a statist. He clearly wants to limit our freedoms on a massive scale, whereas everybody else is an incrementalist. They want to limit our freedoms slowly. He wants to do it fast. So he's made the battle clear. Healthcare is a clear-cut example of that. But you can still fight. I mean, the fact is, they are going to vote on it. There is going to be a vote, and democracy, for what it's worth, will prevail. And if the Democrats have enough votes, they'll pass it. And if they don't have enough votes, they won't pass it. It looks like they will, because they probably have enough votes. They can twist enough arms and bribe enough,